I think that's how that would be. So, well, we'd be right here. So we would have been on this side, right, looking over there at the Plains Moab. So we were over right here.
So you are looking north.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that'd be, north would be that way, right? Yeah, so we'd be looking more across this way. And this may not be exact. I mean, I didn't like plot this out. This is just a generality. So, but it was kind of cool. And this is the fun part as we go through the books now. Before it was all very two-dimensional and black and white and just kind of what you thought. And then now we'll go through stuff and someone will be talking about something and last one like, oh, hey, you know, we got a photo. We were there.
Not
So,
too much green stuff there where you're at.
no, not at all. Not at all.
Geographically, it hasn't changed
Yeah.
very much from the time of Moses.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it really was. I think I mentioned this maybe last time we were sharing photos. You know, just the emphasis of water. You're in a dry, arid, you know, water is just a precious commodity, you know, all throughout the area. So very interesting. So, but we just wanted to step back and share that. So our first stop for the day was Nabi Samuel. And so this is the tomb of Samuel, just a few miles north of Jerusalem. Samuel likely was not buried here, but it's pretty common if you have not been to Israel, if you go there, like you'll see this, like they'll just become a place of ceremony. Like, yeah, this is the tomb of Samuel. So we build, you know, something's built there and it becomes a place that's, you know, sought after. Probably not buried there and very unlikely, but that was the building. We made our way up there. And then from the top of the building, we had a good view. So this is looking out towards Gibeon. So we climbed up on the top of the building right up there. So, and then we're able to get some nice views up there. So that's the purpose we had of going there. And so again, just kind of looking out. And then right there, there's Gibeon. So this is, you know, we had a nice clear view of Gibeon, the city that deceived Joshua and the Israelites. Several Canaanite cities, including Jerusalem, besieged Gibeon to punish and destroy it for making an alliance with Israel. But the tribes marched all night from the Jordan River Valley and attacked at sunrise from the east, which would be to your right, sending the Canaanite armies fleeing the other direction. The Battle of the Long Day resulted from this, and the enemy armies were defeated in the field. So you can see how it's terraced. Gibeon was referred to as a great city in Joshua 10:2. And in Samuel, 2 Samuel 2, we read about how Abner and Joab meet at Gibeon and let the young men battle. Joab's brother, Asael, was killed here by Abner. And also in 1 Kings 3 and 5, we see that God appeared to Solomon during a dream at Gibeon. So all of that right there. So right in that area. Whoops, didn't mean to go there. So right in that, right in this area here. So we thought that was pretty cool. You're just kind of, you're looking out and all of this stuff that, you know, we've read about, it's like, there it is. It was right there, right in front of us. Looking pretty cool. So looking around from there, this is an example. Remember we were talking about the stones and how massive they are? Well, one, you know, kind of wonder too, how did they make them? Or how did they make them, those stones, right? Gigantic. So this is, if you can see, I don't know if I have a better photo, go one over. Maybe this is a little better right here. So you see right here, these are the stone blocks. And what they would do is they would cut trenches into the, you know, this mass, into the stone. And so they would, and then they would carve wood and, you know, force wood into the crevices that they had just cut, and then they would pour water in it. And the swelling of the wood would cause the stone to crack. I don't know how long that would have taken. I would imagine that would take a bit of time, you know, but very interesting. This is like very, you know, crude, primitive, but, you know, we see some pretty massive structures that are still standing today. You know, so this is how they would go about doing it. We thought it was pretty interesting, at least us, to kind of see. It's like, okay, yeah, you know, that's an example of what they would have done.
So yeah. Those stones, were they there originally, or they were hauled there?
those stones, this is where they would have actually made them. So this is,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
yeah.
So those, but you figure how they were gonna move those, or
Yeah.
maybe they weren't in a
Yeah.
movable state yet.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's always boggles my mind. We look at any of this stuff. You know, it's like, how did they, you know, not only did they make these massive stones and they're very well precisioned and they fit well together, but then how did they move them? So, you know, just, it boggles my mind. I don't know how they would have got it. A lot of slave labor. I'm sure a lot of people were hurt and killed in the process. So we got a chance to, that might be a little on the loud side, huh? Can you turn that down at all? So we got an opportunity to just take advantage of the acoustics in there as a group and sing. And you can see the people that were walking up, they all stopped, so we're listening. So I think we, yeah. I think they even clapped for us, so at the end, so they appreciated it. So then we go on to Kiriath Jearim.
Was that Luke leading?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, let me go back there for you. So we'll make this work. That's Luke right there leading. He wears many hats. So, lead singing, led the tour. He's a walking encyclopedia. So then we headed off to Kiriath Jearim, and it's, of all places, we stop, and I don't know, Dad, Oliver, did you guys see the Elvis gas station while you were there? Yeah. Okay. So we stopped at the Elvis gas station. So it was a matter of convenience, as well as it actually did, you know, we got to see something, you know, some interesting stuff there. But we will never forget that, I'm sure. There's a story, apparently the family or the person that owns this gas station has a fascination with Elvis, pretty obvious. I don't think we took any photos of the inside. I don't remember, did you take any, Cindy? No, it's Elvis theme everything. I mean, this guy just loves Elvis. There was a big statue out front, Elvis, you know, as you can see, a sign and whatnot. Coffee mugs, yeah, you could buy your Elvis coffee mug. So it was, you know, quite the shrine to Elvis.
So Larry, going back to that picture where you were showing looking across the canyon, it doesn't look like there's a lot of people like there, there.
Uh-huh.
There's not, you know, you think of our country's 200 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and of all the people who live here, and you look there, and you think that there wouldn't hardly be any land left of people, you know, because there'd be so
Yeah.
many people. It's just, that's kind of fascinating to me, why it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
popular.
Yeah, I forget what the number was, but I mean, that's a good point, but there's a lot of area where it's protected. So it won't be developed, people can't live on it. But then, and I'm trying to remember, because our Israeli guide told us, and boy, I should have written this down, but just how much the Israeli population has grown. And that's their prime objective, is to grow their families. So they're big families. And, but to your point, in some areas, it's very, very close, you know, and crowded. Good point. So here, this gas station is right near Kiriath Jearim, the city where the Ark of the Covenant resided, in Abinadab's house after it had been with the Philistines in 1 Samuel 7:1, and had left Bet Shemesh. So this right here is where we think that would have been, or where they say that's likely where the Ark was. So just looking, you know, away from the gas station. The men of Kiriath Jearim came for the Ark of the Lord and took it into Abinadab's house on the hill. And they consecrated his son Eleazar to guard the Ark of the Lord. And from that day, a long time passed, 20 years in all, as the ark remained at Kiryat Jearim, and all the house of Israel mourned and sought after the Lord. So that's 1 Samuel 7, 1 and 2. So it would have been like just somewhere in here. They don't know exactly what house it was, or now that sits there where it might have exactly been, but just somewhere in this area. We can just look out and go, yeah, the ark, it was over there at one point. And here's a recap of the journey of the ark. So, and you can see all of the locations in its journey, and all of the red dots is where Cindy and I had a chance to visit during this trip. So it's kind of fun to be able to go back on that map and go, okay, here's all the places, and they go, okay, we were at that place, and yeah, we were at that place. So it makes it kind of fun. And so here's a quick recap, or maybe not so quick, as I have a lot of notes, so I'll have to scroll down. It was in Shiloh, and 1 Samuel 3:3, the Lord calls to Samuel, who was sleeping in the tent where the ark of God was. It was taken to the battle with the Philistines at Ebenezer, where they captured it. In 1 Samuel 4, we learn that when Eli heard both his sons had died in the battle and the Philistines had taken the ark, he fell backwards off his chair and broke his neck. The Philistines first took the ark to Ashdod in 1 Samuel 5, 1 through 7, and set it up next to the idol Dagon. We know how that turned out. They were struck by God and plagued with tumors. They then sent it to Gath in 1 Samuel 5, 8, and 9 with the same outcome. And then on to Ekron in 1 Samuel 5, 10, and 12 with, again, more of the same. It was in their hands for 7 months. In 1 Samuel 6, 10 through 15, we read that the Philistines decided they did not want to keep it, and so they sent it back to the border of Bet-Shemesh, where they handed it over to the Levites. The Levites then took it to a field in Beth-Shemesh on a cart and made sacrifices and burnt offerings to the Lord. Then in 1 Samuel 6, 19 through 21, we see some of the people there at Bet-Shemesh looked into the cart, and God killed 70 of them. They then sent a message to Kiryat Jearim, and the men from there came and took it to Kiryat Jearim, to Abinadab's house on the hill, as we read about in 1 Samuel 7, 1 and 2. So going back where we were by Elvis's gas station now. After 20 years there, 1 Samuel 14 and 18 tells us that Saul commands to have the ark brought. In 2 Samuel 6, 2 through 5, David begins to move the ark on a cart and is headed to Jerusalem, when in 2 Samuel 6, 6, Uzzah touched it and was killed. So it was taken to the house of Obed-Edom, a Gittite, for 3 months in 2 Samuel, and we are told that both him and his household were blessed. In 2 Samuel 6, again, or further, David brings the ark to Jerusalem and places it inside a tent. And then later on, Zadok, the high priest, brings the ark to David and is commanded to carry it back to Jerusalem. And Zadok and Abiathar, didn't mean to do that, carry the ark back to Jerusalem. So that was its journey, all those places, and we were fortunate enough to go to ourselves, see many of them, and illuminated by the red dots. So, did I miss anything, Cindy? Good, okay. Then we headed over to the Tel Gezer, and so the tells it's really interesting how much history there is and how much stuff is piled up over time. In this case, the first thing we came across here was the Gezer calendar, and this is one of the earliest Hebrew inscriptions. The original is on display at the Israeli Museum, and it was found among mounds of excavated material. It's believed to be a record of agricultural work done during the 12 months of the year. So 2 months for the harvest, 2 months of sowing, 2 months of late planting, 1 month of hoeing the flax, 1 month of barley harvest, 1 month of harvest and measuring, 2 months of vine pruning, and 1 month of summer fruit. So there's your 12 months of the Gezer calendar. Now, there's 12 rocks around Tel Gezer with an inscription reading boundary of Gezer in Hebrew. And The inscription is dated from the Hasmonean period and probably marked the city limits at the time. So if you look, what we're trying to show, like this view right here, that's this right here. And you can see just these different markings imposed. That's where the boundaries would have been for the city. And I think the next photo maybe, I thought we had a closer photo of one of the marks. So, but it would have been, so you're looking out and you can see the boundaries of the city kind of following along there. And they would have been marked with rocks and that were inscribed. So boundary of Gezer. Now, Tel Gezer extends over 130 dunams and contains 26 levels of sediment. So that's 26 distinct layers of some sort of civilization or peoples live there. And then, so they would live there, you know, get moved along, whether they were conquered or whatever the means be, and then fill it all in and build something right over top of it. Same thing happens again, fill it all in, build something over top of it. So 26 different distinct levers or layers that they could find. So a dunam is also known as a donum or dunum, and it was the Ottoman unit of area equivalent to the Greek strema or English acre, representing the amount of land that could be plowed by a team of oxen in a day. I don't know what that means. Anybody know what an English acre is? Is it like the same as our acre? Is it more or less, you know? No? Okay. I'm not sure either. Most of the remains date from the Middle and Late Canaanite and Israelite periods. Gezer was an important city that controlled the junction of the Via Maris with the road to Jerusalem. So I don't know how well you can see it right here, right up there, but you just kind of see, it really, you see everything along the coastline and you see the different roads. Where they place their villages or cities, whatever we want to call them, their settlements, they always had some sort of strategic value. You know, they're trying to see, control, you know, the passage of people and trade. So all of these major cities, that's something they had in common. So they were strategically important. So, and that would have been the case here too. So it would have been looking out, and they would have been able to observe trade and people moving, you know, back and forth. Because it's not like, you know, what we have today with cars and things that were moving very quickly. You know, trade travel there by road would have been walking and carts and horses, you know, mules. So it would have been a much slower. So you would see a, you know, convoy, a trade convoy moving. So they would know, and they would, you know, be able to control it and tax it as appropriate. So we also saw this massive Canaanite tower from the time before Israel entered the land. So this tower was part of the fortifications of the city of Gezer during the Canaanite period. The tower protected the area of the city gate, which was discovered about 20 meters to the east of what you see here. And the dimensions of the tower, which kind of right down there, that's a drawing with the description of the tower. So the tower itself would have been 16 meters wide by 15 meters high. You can only see 5 meters of the tower in the photos here. So there's another, you know, 10, 11 meters that are concealed by the settlement or sediment. It's the largest Canaanite tower that has been found, and this may have been a gate, fortress housing a military or an admin center, the dwelling of the king or governor of the area, possibly some public reception rooms and various service rooms. So that would have all been right in the area that you're seeing right now. And again, just consider, we can only see 5 meters of it. I mean, there's another 10 meters that's hidden away from our view. So pretty massive. And these are smaller stones than what we were just showing you at the quarry. But I wouldn't want to have to move even these small stones. So,
And you can imagine the stone down below.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were that small.
yeah, probably a lot bigger. So the gate of the Canaanite cities, in this one, it was connected by a wall to a gigantic watchtower. So you can kind of see, I think it's right over here for you. That's the replication of it. The gate is typical for this period. It's constructed of mud brick on a stone foundation and is preserved to a height of 7 meters. So now you can see, I don't know if you can see it real well in this photo or not, but it was very apparent in person, like there's different coloring of the bricks. So you can see that bricks are different colors. And again, I don't know if you can discern it in this photo or not, but when we were there, you could see it very plainly. And what that would be is that would be a reflection of, this is how they collected the taxes and tax obligations from the people. So they would supply bricks from the different villages that surrounded the city. And so there would be differences in the color, like where they sourced their, the mud to make the bricks. So there would be some differences, and you could see that and you go, okay, that was maybe, you know, these bricks are probably from this village, these bricks are probably from that village. But just an interesting thing. But this would have been around when the spies came in to explore Canaan. So they would have seen these towers. Now, this is a Solomonic gate. And here's, again, the photo of it with the description. So an identifying characteristic of Solomonic gates is that they're built wider, but no wider than needed to be. So, and what needed to be width at that time would have been a chariot, right? Chariot was usually the widest thing that needed to go through these gates. And Solomonic gates all have 3 chambers on their side. So if you can see it, probably better right here. This is the gate coming through there, and there's 3 chambers on each side. And those chambers served a purpose. And they're different. Gates from David's time were typically 2 city gates and might have 2 chambers, but Solomonic had 3. And these were used for, they could collect the taxes there. They had, you know, the guards there, the soldiers there. So it was a way to control, you know, the inflow and outflow of people, to make sure you didn't have the wrong people coming in and out, that you collected your taxes that you were due, whatever the case may be. But again, the city was key to controlling traffic and commerce on the international highway, so strategic value. And it only came under Israel's control when an ambitious Pharaoh apparently overreached and tried to reestablish Egyptian control of the area against a young Solomon. Pharaoh had to give Gezer to Solomon along with his daughter in marriage. In return, Solomon allowed Egyptian trade to continue moving on the road, though possibly under restrictions. You can find that in 1 Kings 9, 15 and through 17 and 10, 27 through 29. You can find that reference. So we thought it was pretty interesting, and it's kind of neat to see how they would build that. And trying to remember, Cindy, in the Solomonic gates too, was it they had the the trenches that we saw for the wheels of the carts? So, do you remember that, Oliver? Steve? Yeah, a lot of those would have, like, for the carts, so it was very specific, and your cart would go through, the wheels of your cart would sit in the trench, they go through, like, they very much controlled your access and throughway. And that's Luke out there, again, so, giving the tour. Now this right here, this is the mysterious massive standing stones. We don't know exactly what it is, but the scholarly belief is that this was a shrine area with a stone basin. So it's probably that kind of that piece right there, and 10 monoliths. Each one was different in size and shape. Again, we don't know why. I don't think they gave us much explanation in that regard. The basin may have served as a container for a blood libation poured during an alliance ceremony. A ritual of this type is described in the Bible after Moses brought down the 10 Commandments from Mount Sinai in Exodus 24, 4 through 6. But there was no real, that's about as much as I think we were able to understand about that. And Luke didn't have a whole lot more to offer. Something interesting to look at, but we don't know exactly what it is, to be honest. So then, we keep on moving, and it's time for lunch. So lunch at the mall. So it's just a mall. So we stopped, and it was actually a nice mall. It was comfortable. A lot of good food options there. We got some dessert on the way out, so it was all good. Walked around. I mean, you wouldn't, aside from the fact that there was other languages posted on the signs. It's just a mall, but it was kind of fun to visit it. Now, this was lunch that day. It was McDonald's. Look at the size of that hamburger. That's a shared hamburger right there. So we ordered lunch. We each got lunch, and when I got my burger, I was like, we should have shared. So, because that is a big hamburger. Now, one of the things in Israel is you have the kosher diet, and so depending on who owns or runs the McDonald's, you may or may not be able to get cheese on your burger. So in this case, there was no cheese at the mall. We did go to another McDonald's later on in the trip, and we were able to get cheese on our burger. So it must not have been owned by an Israeli. But it was still good. And, other than the fact that the burger was, I don't even think it does it justice here. It's just like a big, gigantic burger. And, other than that, it's just McDonald's, French fries, soda, no, not too much different other than that. So move on from lunch, and we go out to Beth Shemesh. Now, so the ark came back here from the Philistines in 1 Samuel 6, and God struck the men here because they looked in the ark. Samson grew up around this valley, which sits between Zorah and Eshtal, Judges 13:25. And Samson also met a nice Philistine girl at Timnah, just down the valley, and killed a lion in that same area, Judges 14. So it's all right in here. So kind of that area. Again, for me personally, as you read through the Bible and you form these images in your mind, or at least me in my mind, a lot of times I think stuff is so far away, like, wow, that would have been way over there. But realistically, it's just right there. So it's not that far. Israel, I think, as we talked about in the first segment of this journey, is kind of about the size and, similar to New Jersey. Our state of New Jersey, it's not that big. So we move on to Gath. We drove out to mighty Gath. This is the home of Goliath, but now it's just a large barren hill. So not a whole lot to see there, but we did go. The ark was here with the Philistines in 1 Samuel 5, 8, and 9. So they sent and gathered all the lords of the Philistines to them and said, "What shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel?" And they said, "Let the ark of the God of Israel be brought around to Gath." And they brought the ark of the God of Israel around. After they had brought it around, the hand of the Lord was against the city with very great confusion, and he smote the men of the city, both young and old, so that tumors broke out among them. All right here, Gath. I thought that tree was kind of cool. What kind of tree was that? Do you remember, Cindy? I don't remember. So, pretty cool looking tree. Do you guys remember what kind of tree that would be, by chance? No? So then we move on to the Valley of Elah. And we finish the day with a visit to the Valley of Elah. This is where the contest, the scene, David and Goliath, 1 Samuel 17. You just kind of think about that. That's here. So that's looking out through here. So this right here would have been the brook, and at the time, and we all, it was our mission to try and find stones, smooth stones, like David would have done, stopped and picked up some stones. But we didn't find much. We did bring stones back, but probably small. Now, this is just a different view. Now, we came, this view right here, this corner, we actually kind of right behind me, if I'm looking from this corner, this is how we accessed it. This is where the trip with Luke was really a lot of fun, because we didn't go to the typical touristy spots. And even our Israeli guide made mention of that quite often, is like Luke took us to stuff that most people don't go see. And this was one of them. Like, there's not a spot here to stop and conveniently get off. We literally got dropped off across the highway, at a bus stop, and he took the bus and drove off and, had to kind of find a place to park and come back and get us later. And then we had to cross the highway, navigate over a fence, jump over another fence, navigate into this place to get here. But to me, this was significant. This is worth seeing. But there's no tourist destination here. It's not set up to accommodate tourists. So this is where we're sitting. The highway would be right behind us right here. And we're looking out over the valley. Up here is the photo. We would have been, I think, kind of right there is where where I'm pointing there is this view from here. So we were standing over there. I'll go back one. So you can imagine you have Israeli camp right here, down in the Elah Valley right there, which is down here. You have Gath, Azekah, Philistine camp would have been over here. So Israelites here, Philistines over here, and they're facing off with each other, taunting each other, come down here and fight. So we were able to get out there and see that. I thought it was kind of fun. It was a good experience for us. So now this is really what the stones probably would have looked like, that they would have used for sling stones. So something big. Probably not these. These would have been the larger sort of military grade slingshots, but the hand slingshots probably would have been like the smaller ones like these. So,
How big?
yeah.
Like the middle one here, is it like this big? The middle?
Probably right in there.
No, the bigger, no. So how big is that?
That I don't know. Yeah, it was behind a glass case. We found it in the museum because I don't know if you guys have this, but in my mind, I always thought about these sling stones as small.
Yeah.
But even like what they said, what would have been used as for a hand sling stone is probably these right here. Those are big. It's at least a lot bigger than I had in my mind. But that's really what the sling stones would have been like, really bigger. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I always thought about that as like this little stone, he would have like get hit in the eye or something. It's like, no, it's actually probably like a massive, like a good sized stone. So not that a little stone wouldn't hurt and might not kill you anyway if you get hit in the right spot. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. I took a picture of it because it was very different than what I always had in my mind. Any questions on that? No? Okay. So that's it. We're done. We got done early today. So we'll save March or May 14th for you for the next one. Thank you.